Hey, what's up? This is Jarod Gray with my guest, V Clutch Rush, at Jarod Gray. You can find me on Twitter. You can find my buddy Russ at Clutch Russ on Twitter. This is our very first episode of the Head to Head podcast. We're an all IDP podcast. We'll be coming every week. We're going to start off fast and heavy on our must-haves this week. My guy Clutch over here is a big IDP guy. We've been friends for, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years now. Right, Russ?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I followed you a little bit here a few years ago and stayed in touch and got to know each other a little bit. So I'm excited all over again, man. I get pumped up with IDP stuff and just getting the blood going with football talk. It's about time. It's the summer, fresh cut grass. I'm just overly excited.
Sounds great. I mean, we know that you're a Nebraska Cornhusker fan. We might see each other later this year if I decide to come up and watch that game. So I won't try to hold that against you.
I got a ticket ready for you, and I can't wait to buy you a beer so you can cry in it.
I doubt that's going to happen. So I'm not worried about us. I'm just worried how many points we're going to hang on you. So
that's all right.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to get right to it today. We have my top 10 must-haves. My obviously top 10 must-haves are different than your must-haves. Main reason is I'm more of a dynasty aspect. Yours is I need to win today. I need to win this year. And, we're going to go straight to yours. I'll bring this up and then I'm going to give you a little scroll at the bottom so the guys can read and go from there. And my biggest question to you right off the bat, we have a few things that we agree on, right? Roquan Smith, I think obviously it's a thing. We both agree Roquan Smith's our guy. TJ Watt is both on our list. I have TJ Watt a little farther down. He's still I think he's the best defensive player in football. In my league, I have him as I'm moving him to an edge position instead of a linebacker, which makes him the number one guy to me. But my top player and your top player seems to be Roquan Smith. So why did you choose TJ Watt, Roquan Smith, your top two guys?
Well, kind of like you said, as far as TJ Watt, depending on what platform you use, if he's listed at the DL position, that's the cheat code, man. He's a big play guy. When it comes to Roquan, I like him too, and that's where the consistency comes into play. And I really like that when it comes to IDP because it's a lot easier to predict the tackle volume compared to big play volume. And that's kind of where I stand when it comes to those two players. And it's just kind of whether you like to try to take that gamble with some big splash scoring and take a little less points one week, but get more another week. Or if you want that consistent 20 to 30 points from Roquan that he's going to get you. So that's just kind of whatever you're into as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, so I'm a big floor guy. I think you know that at this point. Roquan Smith gives me the highest ceiling floor. You know what I mean? So without a doubt, I think he's the number one. It's funny because I don't think either one of us have Darius right now. And for me, it's because of his back. And otherwise, Darius Leonard is easily a top 3 linebacker if I'm not worried about his back. But that worries me a little bit, especially this late. What do you think about him? I know he's not on our list, so I want your opinion, why he's not on your list.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like Darius Leonard. Like you said, he's injured. He is one of the top, most consistent linebackers there are. That's going to get you tackles. And Bobby O'Kree has also been able to put up some numbers there too as a LB2. But as far as Darius Leonard is concerned, just once we get through the summer, through these preseasons and everything, kind of hear what's going on in camp and all that stuff, kind of reassure that you're confident in being able to draft a guy up that high. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem doing it, pending where I'm at in the draft and how everything drops to me. But that is definitely a big deal when it comes to injuries. So
I agree. So we both have Darius Leonard, we both have Aaron Donald as our third guy that we both agree on. Even though he's old for me, he doesn't stop. Gives you the last play of the Super Bowl. The only person that you really could focus on is how good Aaron Donald was. And this is where I think this is our third guy we agree on. And I know we've got some guys that you agree with me on, because I'm about to smash you on a few. That's why this is the head-to-head. But do you think Aaron Donald can hold out for another 3 years, 4 years? I mean, I pick him as still a dynasty guy because I still think he's really solid the next 2 years.
Yeah, for the next 2 years, I'd have no problem. He'd probably be my number 2 off the board behind TJ Watt as far as the D-line position goes. It's always interesting for me to watch back when Sue played for the Rams, and when he put up 20.5 sacks and then Sue leaves, those sack numbers go down, but then his tackle volume kind of picked up a little bit. So he's definitely athletic and a freak of all kinds, but I think he could potentially do more, but it's also going to be interesting with that defensive line. Bobby Wagner, another player that I like, he's going to be interesting to see how that defense flows as a whole, but I do like Donald for sure.
Nice. So my guy just showed up, Justin, double dose of the T2T. That's right. We're the H2H with the T2T tonight. We'll be doing this every week, so you're going to see a lot. I mean, we got so many shows going right now, and thanks, Justin, for popping in. Our guy Coach just popping in. He needs that IDP, baby. He's a big IDP guy like we are, so appreciate you popping in, Coach. I know we're just trying to get through this and have a good time. So, all right, my first what the F moment on your, I still got some guys. Jamal Adams coming off an injury, and he said he was both shoulders were injured last week, right? Or last year. And then we both agree on Aaron Donald. Jordan Poyer's getting a little old. Then we got Bobby Wagner, who obviously got released from another team. He's getting old. Don't get me wrong, I love where he's at this year. I don't know if I trust Bobby Wagner greater than this year, though.
No, for sure. Like you said at the beginning, I'm drafting according to I'm going to try to win this year if you're starting fresh, and then with also keeping in mind if I miss on a guy like a TJ Watt, maybe I get a Donald. In this case, if I miss on a Roquan, and I want to switch directions, go with Jamal Adams. He's a big play guy. I know they got a new defensive coordinator for the Seahawks. Sounds like they're going to try to use both him and Diggs for versatility. So you could almost see maybe Diggs have bigger plays, but I think they invested too much in Jamal Adams, not for him to put up the numbers that he needs to put up for what he was traded for. So I think this might be the last year, pending how his season goes, that I probably have him in my top 5. So there's a lot on the line for him, and there's all kinds of motivation for him to play his best season as well.
Well, he better. I mean, that dude got burnt all year last year. So I do not trust him. He's great in the box, but right. I don't trust him over top, man. There's something about it. I just don't trust him. Blake Martinez has been a tackle machine when he's been healthy. He finally got a really big injury to tore ACL. But obviously, he's a tackle machine. He's not the type of guy that I'm expect a lot of catches, interceptions or big plays, sacks, stuff like that. He's just a 150 tackle guy, and so I understand why he's there. He's got great floor.
Right. Consistency.
Dude,
he's just a consistent
we're just getting older and older here. My other question, and this we're going to get to my biggest question mark in a second. I remember I got absolutely destroyed 2.5 years ago when I said Danielle Hunter would be a nobody, to be drafted because and this is coming off a big year. And I said, you got to forget he lost 2 all-pro defensive linemen and his other stud defensive end. And I got destroyed on Twitter, if you remember. And then he didn't play a single snap. So I said, we're worried about a little neck injury here. It could be worse. And I got destroyed on Twitter. Do you think anybody apologized to me? It's a no, by the way.
Yeah. Probably not. Yeah, no,
But I
that's
was right. You remember that, right?
right. Yeah. No, I do. There's just Minnesota Vikings seems like they're taking a lot of chances on a lot of older guys. And this is part of the draft. Like I'm drafting, let's say I do land, my Roquan Smith and I miss out on a Donald and I want to just wait on a defensive lineman, but one that might be playing for something. And I want Delaney Hunter because he is backing up a couple years, 14.5 sacks, 2 years in a row. I get his health as a concern, but at the same time, if we're always just going to, pussyfoot around the whole being injured thing and not just go with what they have done in the past, I want that. So a player that's going to go out there and put it all on the field. If he does get hurt, I was wrong, but it's not like his ranking is going to affect my decision on him, depending on how the flow of the draft is going.
Well, his ADP isn't really high, and
no,
that's
like round.
Sorry. So his ADP isn't really high, and that's one thing I think you can get him later, and he could, if he's healthy. Don't get me wrong, he's an absolute stud. But my issue is he hasn't been healthy, but 6 games in the last 24. So, and that's an issue for me. I mean, I think that's an issue for everybody. I think that's why. But again, I would have Darius Leonard in my top 5 before I'd have Danielle Hunter, because at least I understand where I get out of Darius Leonard at times too. I haven't seen a consistent play out of Danielle Hunter greater than 5 games in 3 years. So that's my issue with him.
Right.
All right. I have one big question mark about this. We'll get right to this. How in the hell do we have Zach Cunningham in the top 10 of a must-have? I need you to tell me, because I need to hear it. Let's go.
The reason why he's in my top 10 is because he's a tackling machine. You might as well call him Mr. Solo, because he gets 106, 100+ solo tackles without even counting the assists the last 2 years. So I understand.
What did he get last year?
Last year? 106. Oh, hold on. Well, last year he got moved around, understandably. He got 80. No,
he went to the Titans and barely played.
I don't think the Titans quite knew what they were doing right at the beginning. They were trying to feel out some other. They had Rashawn Evans too, I think, trying to move him around, and he got moved to another team.
Well, we had Rashawn Evans. We talked about the other kid that came in and played, the kid from West Virginia, who I really like personally. But the dude had 26 total tackles last year. So that's where I'm mind blown about, hey, let's put this dude. I mean, he had 20, he had 26 for the.
He's got 10 games.
So sorry, he had 67 for the Texans. He had 26. So he still broke 90. I'll give you that. But I just don't trust. I mean, I just don't trust it, man. I could be wrong, and I think he's. And if you're saying I just don't think he's a top 10 guy at all. I don't know if I think you can get him as a top 20 linebacker at 22. So, I think he drops that far in almost every league that I'm in. So, for me personally, that dude's in the outhouse for me. Like I won't be drafting Cunningham, but you got him in there, and I had to ask because I just don't get it.
You don't get it. So
I just don't get it, man. I don't trust
him. You take Cunningham or Kenneth Murray?
Well, Kenneth Murray just came off ankle surgery and shoulder surgery 2 years in a row, so I'm kind of in between. He's my guy. I talk to him all the time, but
that's why I was asking.
But here's the thing: is I can get both. I might be able to get both after the draft is over, on the waiver wire.
Well, that's not a very deep. That's not deep enough IDP league then.
Dude, I'm talking 24 rounds here, homie. So
yeah, no, I understand. He's one of the other aging guys that I like. As far as when I made this list, I was making this list within the mind of, yeah, it's an overall. It's my top guys that I must have, but it's must have at a certain position within my draft. If I'm getting some of these top guys, and then I might, because I always have Zach Cunningham as an LB2 or LB3. Granted, yeah, I didn't say LB1, but I think there's the potential there. He's in a division where they run the ball a lot. You got the Colts twice that are going to run the ball, whether they got Matt Ryan there or not. I think their schedule plays out very well for who they're going to be playing, run heavy teams right off the bat. So it'll be a guy, I believe you'll find out with the first couple of weeks if you want to keep him or you're going to drop him. So that's the feeling on Zach Cunningham.
I'm going to answer this question real quick. What happened to Bradley Chubb sacks? Von Miller happened to Bradley Chubb, and then he got injured. And then he finally came back, and Von Miller left. And then so we'll see what we get out of Bradley Chubb later. But I don't trust him enough. Now, I do love Nick Bonito, who they drafted with their first pick in the second round, which was their first pick. I think that he is really explosive. Obviously, I'm an Oklahoma guy, but he's the highest PFF graded pass rusher the last 2 seasons, if people didn't know that. So I really like Nick Bonito coming off the edge. So hopefully Nick Chubb comes up. We'll see what happens with that. My guy, George Reed, he's part of our TTT.
Didn't they just pay a guy named Randy Gregory from Nebraska to play for the Denver Broncos?
They did get Randy Gregory too. But again, we're talking about another guy who's had a lot of issues playing and off the field issues. Obviously, like that's the main reason he got dropped, because he's a first round talent. Do not get it twisted. But I wouldn't have paid Randy Gregory either if I was the Cowboys. So
no, I'm surprised he got paid as much as he did.
All right.
Yeah,
I agree. So here's my biggest question. So I have quite a few guys different than you. I have a more younger group, but some really studs. My biggest jump this year is without a doubt Jordan Brooks. Bobby Wagner left. He was a stud with Bobby Wagner. He's going to be the guy. I don't see why he doesn't ball out. 130 tackles this year. He's not great in coverage. Let's not get this twisted. But I mean, 130 tackles plus when he's in there. Honestly, he's like a lot like Blake Martinez, tackle wise. He's a high tackle guy. He doesn't blow me off the water in coverage, that's for sure. Next for me, how do you feel about Jordan Brooks?
Jordan Brooks, I like Jordan Brooks. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm curious if obviously there's always a few teams that have a couple linebackers in the top 24, and I don't know if Cody Barton can put up those kind of numbers, if they can kind of repeat the Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright days, but it's another player that I kind of keep in the back of my head, depending on how far I am or how deep your draft is going to be. But I'm definitely a fan of Brooks.
My guy over here saying he loved Baron Browning. Sorry, bro. I don't trust Baron Browning as far as I can pick him up, and I don't know if I can pick him up. So not a Browning fan. Let's hopefully something happens with him and he plays better this year, because they drafted decently. They brought Singleton in over there. I don't trust Baron Browning. So let's go with, obviously I have Derwin James. You had Jordan Poyer. Love Jordan Poyer. I love his floor, a phenomenal floor. He was, safety one. Derwin James, if healthy and stays healthy all season, is an absolute monster. And he's puts linebacker numbers up as a safety, and I can't not love that. My biggest thing for me, Micah Parsons, on whether or not he's an edge or he's a linebacker. Because with them losing Gregory, I think he moves to edge full time. I really do. And I don't think they have a very good linebacking core.
Now you got
So
Leighton
what do you
Vander.
think about there? Like, what do you expect out of him?
Yeah, I mean, if
I don't
Micah
trust Vander at all.
No, yeah, well, and they dealt away Jalen Smith too, I believe.
Yep,
So
last year went to Green Bay and then he got released. So
right, but as far as Micah Parsons goes, like, yeah, he's probably up there in your top 10 of defensive linemen if he gets the DL tag. I mean, he is pretty good athlete. I don't know, is he going to just kind of be a rookie sensation and have a soft year slump, kind of like Chase Young did, or it's kind of hard to judge on some of these younger cats like that. But I'm not a Dallas
that dude's
Cowboys
a running
fan.
back playing linebacker.
Right. Yeah. So there's just, whether it's fantasy football biased or whatever, there's certain players, like, I respect their numbers and what they can put up, but if I'm not like pursuing him, I'll let the other Dallas homer in my league go ahead and pick that guy, and then I'll get Von Miller for my last pick.
He's a freak, dude. I said that he was the number one defensive player in the draft when he came out. My uncle's a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. Somebody said my dial-up internet is lagging, so hopefully I'm not lagging because I can't tell personally. And it might be when I'm just doing this. So hopefully my internet is not too bad. It might be my man Clutch. So let's get through this. Nick Bosa for me, absolute stud. And I've been low on Bosa for a long time because I do not trust his health, as he's had two major surgeries. In college he had obviously the ACL injury in his high school years. He's been okay in the pros. Injury wise, he stayed away from it. He's looked really good last year. He scares me injury wise, but he's an absolute monster. 100 plus, quarterback pressures last 2 years. So give me all of that. Two of my biggest ones, Antoine Winfield Jr., that I had been on the train from the get-go. I said that he was one of the best steals of the draft. I said that he should be a first rounder. And his first year, he looked like a first rounder. Do you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I was definitely trying to pursue him in quite a few leagues, got him maybe in like one of them.
I love him. And another reason I love him is because Tom Brady's on that team. And to keep up with Tom Brady, you got to throw the ball. And that dude's a ball hawk. He had 11 interceptions in college, comes over to the pros. He's played pretty well, a couple interceptions every year so far. I hate to say it, but I honestly think he's better than his daddy. So there's that. I got people messaging me and things that I don't know what I'm doing. So Logan Wilson is my last guy in this group. Logan Wilson, when he's healthy last year, and he was an absolute monster when he was playing. And Cincinnati is kind of like, an aspect, they're going to put a lot of points up. They're going to score, and they're going to get off the field pretty fast doing that, which means the defense is going to play a lot. I think Logan Wilson repeats this year and has another big, top 10, top 15 year, and I can't not draft him. He's just one of those guys that's a must-have for me. He's my last must-have on my list on this group, but I kind of mixed it up a little bit. Really love Logan Wilson. Where do you think? Let's compare lists real quick. Who do you think got the better list, you or me?
Well, I mean, how many of those guys on your list, if you're in a draft, how many of them guys do you think you can land?
4.
4? Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
I gotcha. Because I think I could probably hit about half of mine. Granted, I think there's going to be the guys, the Von Millers and Delaney Hunters, that people ain't going to, and the Zach Cunninghams, not the popular decision, but like I said, that's going to be like my second defensive lineman or my second or third linebacker or what have you. So again, a lot of this is kind of relative depending on how your league is structured, on the direction that you can go to try to make a championship team. So, but It's
Yeah,
you
for me, I
got the-
almost put Brian Burns on my list.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I kind of overshot, but I mean, these are guys I expect other people to target, not just me. So
Right.
Brian Burns was definitely on my list of guys that I really wanted, but I left him off because I want to put Nick Bosa in there. Only reason. But Brian Burns is somebody I target in every league I'm in. I just trust him. High tackle, high sack, high pressure guy, so I like him. Okay, so this is our first go at it. First go of the head-to-head podcast. We're here every week on the Toilets to Titles. Check us out on YouTube, on Twitter. Thanks, Russ, for coming on and joining me for the first night. Can't wait to keep doing this every week. Whether you're here or not, I will be here doing our show. Excited to have you. Can you give us a little outro about what you're about?
Hey, absolutely, man. Just thanks for having me on. It's been a great opportunity to be a host, or not a host, but a guest here on Toilets to Titles and talk football. And I like to be able to help people because IDP is such a niche that there isn't a lot of information out there. Granted, when I say that, that's back to when I first started like 20 years ago, and it's definitely evolved a lot since then. And now it's just seems like people are getting kind of picky. So I just kind of said, screw it. This is more of an overall view, direction of guys that you want on your team, regardless of your scoring system, and that you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So just know your platform and everything else to become the champion of the Toilets of Titles.
I appreciate it. Again, subscribe, check out our Patreon. Patreon's where it's at. You know, we have a lot of different tiers. The last tier is where you really want to be on. You can DM any person on the Toilets for Titles. There's 20 of us. We will talk about anything you want to do in your draft, your full draft guide as you pull up in your draft. Some of us are drafting right now in Scott Fishbowl. So we really appreciate Scott and Ryan and all the guys over there doing a phenomenal job doing for that draft through Sleeper and MFL. Absolutely loving that right now. You know, we appreciate it. On to next week. Let's go, let's go, let's go.